Today I'm going to make for you a very classic Gujarati snack called Khaman. And basically it is a steamed cake, savory cake made from chickpea flour. It is so delicious and very easy to make. It does require a few ingredients, but nothing out of the ordinary. And the steps are pretty easy to follow. But make sure you watch this video to the very end and see everything, including my tips, and then you can make it. But it's easy, delicious, so let's go ahead and make Khaman. To make our batter, we're going to start with 2 cups of chickpea or besan flour shifted so that when we mix everything together, there are no lumps. I want a very smooth batter. So I'm going to shift these 2 cups of chickpea flour into the bowl. I also have 2 tablespoons of cream of wheat or suji. And then I have 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of citric acid, and this is really important ingredient. You can substitute lemon juice with it, but I highly recommend you find this ingredient because it just makes it so much tastier and it tastes just very professionally tasting Khaman. I have 2 teaspoons of salt. I have 1/4 teaspoon of hing or acetophodia, and I have 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric. I also have 1.5 cups of water. So to start this, we're going to take all the spices and put it in the water and kind of stir it until the sugar and salt have dissolved. And then I'm going to take that and add it into my chickpea flour mixture. So let's get started. I've added all my spices and salt and sugar in this water, and I'm going to take this water and then use it to make a very smooth batter. Here's my shifted chickpea flour. I have not added the cream of wheat yet. Once I make a smooth batter, then I'm going to go ahead and add the cream of wheat. Okay, and as you can see, my batter is very smooth and lump free. Now this is an important step. At this point, if you need to do some arm exercise, you need to whisk this batter for at least 3 minutes until it's nice and lightens up and it's nice and silky. So now if you don't want to do the arm exercise, then I have a shortcut and I'm using my electric whisk. And I'm going to whisk this for about 2 minutes using the electric whisk. So either one is fine as long as you aerate the batter. And when you're doing this, make sure you do it in one direction. So about 3 minutes if you're doing it by hand, or 2 minutes if you're using an electric whisk. So I'm going to go ahead and use my electric whisk to whisk this batter. Okay, my batter has been nice and whisked and aerated. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the cream of wheat and then whisk it again for about 30 seconds until it's really well incorporated. Now this recipe can be made completely gluten-free if you skip the cream of wheat. If you skip the cream of wheat, the taste will still be amazing. It might not be as spongy, but still it's amazing. So if you're watching your gluten and just want something that's gluten-free, go ahead and skip the cream of wheat. Right, so now the most important thing here is after you whisk this, you need to let this batter sit for about ½ hour. So I'm gonna give it a final whisk and then let it sit for about ½ hour. I've covered my bowl and I'm gonna let the batter sit. Meanwhile, I'm gonna go ahead and grate my ginger. I need about 1 teaspoon of very finely grated ginger, and I need 2 tablespoons of oil, which we're going to add after ½ hour. Our batter has now rested for about 30 minutes and you can see all these bubbles, so it's really nice and smooth batter. It's done. Meanwhile, I have grated 1 teaspoon of ginger very finely. So I'm going to add the ginger, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of oil in this batter, and then whisk it, and then let it sit for 5 minutes while we get our steamer ready. Okay, so I've added my oil and ginger. I'm going to go ahead and whisk it and then let it sit for about 5 minutes. So to steam these khaman, today I'm going to use an 8-inch cake pan, and I'm going to very lightly grease it. I don't need to because it's a non-stick pan, but I'm going to just very lightly grease this just to make sure. You can also use a cooking spray if you want, but today I'm just going to pour just very, like maybe a teaspoon of oil, and just spread it around. Okay, our batter is ready to go. The only thing I need to add is 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So this is half a teaspoon, and then another half. And then I'm going to just sprinkle some water to activate that baking soda. The moment I added the baking soda, you can see the batter got all nice and bubbly and fluffy. I'm gonna go ahead quickly pour it into the pan and steam my khaman for about 15 minutes. Okay, so my khaman has steamed perfectly. I'm gonna just make some cuts and then add the tempering. The tempering is just a mixture of some spices and water. So this is right now it's not as fluffy. Once you add the water, it will absorb all the water and then become very fluffy. Now you see the orange spots, don't worry about that if you have it. That's just a reaction between the turmeric and the baking soda, so sometimes that happens, so no worries. I mixed it really well, so it shouldn't have happened, but it did, but it doesn't change the taste. So all I'm doing is making cuts, and then let's see how to make our tempering. For tempering, I have about 3 tablespoons of oil heating in this pan. To this, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of mustard seeds. And please make sure you watch this video to the very end before trying it, so that way you know where each step is and what ingredients are needed. So I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of mustard seeds. And I'm also going to add 2 teaspoons of sesame seeds. The mustard seeds are spluttering, so I'm going to go ahead and add my sesame seeds. So that was 2 teaspoons of mustard seeds, 2 teaspoons of sesame seeds. I'm going to give this a minute. And then I'm going to add 3 chopped green chilies. Again, the green chilies, these are super spicy and hot. You can always use the non-heat chilies, just regular green chilies. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add this. Okay, the green chilies have sizzled nicely, about 30 seconds. I'm going to turn the heat off, and I'm going to add 1.5 cups of water. Be careful because it will splutter. Okay, now I'm going to turn the heat back on. The reason I turned the heat off is so that the water wouldn't splutter in my face. I'm going to turn the heat back on, let the water come back to boiling, and then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1 teaspoon of salt. To this mixture, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, and then when it cools slightly, I'm going to juice half a lemon in it. Okay, I'm going to now take our entire mixture, the water mixture with the mustard seeds, sesame seeds, sugar, salt, and a little lemon juice, and I'm going to pour it entirely over my khaman. It seems like a lot of water, but trust me, it will get all absorbed and the Khaman will become nice and fluffy. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour this in. You wanna make sure that you cover every area of it. Okay, I've added all my water and I'm gonna let this sit for about 10 minutes until all the water is absorbed and the Khaman are nice and fluffy. This tastes amazing. I know it seems complicated, but it's really not. It doesn't require that many ingredients. And again, like I said, you can make this gluten-free by just not adding the cream of wheat. So please try and make this. This is really delicious. I'm gonna just garnish it with a little bit of cilantro and we're ready to eat in about 10 minutes. And here it is, our Khaman. They are delicious. They came out beautifully, super spongy, light, and really healthy. So go ahead and make these. It's a great snack for any time of the day. You can eat this as is or with a little bit of mint and coriander chutney or even some chili sauce. So is there anything I would do differently next time? Yes, I would. Instead of using the 8-inch cake pan, I think I would use the 9-inch because the batter slightly overflowed. My 8-inch cake pan was too small. So next time I would use a 9-inch cake pan. Otherwise, nothing different. It's just delicious. Give it a try. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and enjoy making this very delicious meal.